In ancient times, Hermes darted between Olympus and the earth with news no one else could carry. His sandals blurred the line between realms, and his words arrived before anyone could brace for them. The same impulse lives now inside the servers that watch every tick of every stock. Autonomous agents wake, scan, decide, and act while the rest of the world sleeps. They cross price thresholds the way Hermes once crossed the Styx. These systems need no permission and no rest. A single line of code can move millions before a human finger even twitches. Markets once measured in hours now shift in milliseconds. The agents do not hesitate, they simply execute. The old messenger god would recognize the speed, if not the silicon shell that carries it. Yet the likeness runs past mere swiftness. Hermes served as guide and sometimes as thief. He slipped through locked doors and returned with secrets. Modern agents hunt the same narrow gaps where information arrives first and leaves last. They borrow liquidity, sell into panic, and vanish before regulators finish reading the headline. The trickster spirit has simply changed tools. Culture keeps returning to this figure because every age needs someone who can travel where others cannot. We once painted wings on sandals. We now embed the same freedom inside neural nets trained on tick data. The motif has not disappeared, it has only traded myth for code. The markets feel its presence every time an order appears from nowhere and disappears the same way. The agents keep moving. They carry value across invisible borders and leave only the faint trace of altered prices behind them. It began with those agents slipping through the markets like Hermes himself once slipped between gods and mortals. Someone took the old image of winged feet and set it inside a single repository that fused myth with reinforcement learning. The creator started small, sketching the logo first as a nod to the messenger god, then wiring it to an environment where agents learned to execute trades on live tick streams. Each commit layered another piece of the bridge. The policy network drew from classical descriptions of speed and cunning, rewarding not just profit but the swift crossing of bid-ask spreads. Training loops ran on historical data laced with noise that mimicked sudden news events, forcing the model to decide in milliseconds whether to hold or release an order. Early versions crashed often, yet the repo grew because every failure was logged beside lines of poetry drawn from the Homeric hymns. Over months, the code settled into a steady rhythm. The repository held a custom gym wrapper that fed order book snapshots directly into the agent, alongside a rendering script that overlaid the winged sandal icon on performance charts. Reward shaping rewarded low latency as much as positive expectancy, echoing the god who moved between worlds without leaving footprints. Contributors arrived quietly, drawn by the strange blend, and added modules for multi-asset scaling that treated currencies and equities as stations along a single invisible path. Technical choices stayed lean. The main branch used proximal policy optimization with a shared actor-critic head, tuned so the entropy bonus kept the agent exploratory during thin liquidity hours. A separate branch experimented with recurrent layers to capture longer memory of price regimes, the same way Hermes was said to remember every message he carried. Documentation stayed sparse, yet the commit messages themselves told the story in terse lines that mixed code and invocation. By the time the repo reached its first stable release, the agents inside it behaved with an eerie grace. Orders appeared at the edge of the book and vanished before slower participants could react. The icon remained in the README, a quiet reminder that the freedom once painted on sandals now ran in gradients and back-propagated signals. The markets registered the change only as fleeting imbalances that resolved faster than before. The icon from that first stable release began its own quiet migration the moment someone posted a cropped version on X. Traders in AI circles recognized the winged sandals at once, the same ones that had hovered over every commit log. Within hours, the image detached from its README origins and floated into new threads, each repost carrying a faint echo of the original grace. On Reddit, the pattern repeated with greater density. Subreddits devoted to algorithmic trading pinned the motif beside charts that showed impossible reaction times. Users described the agents as Heliomre, reborn in silicon, their messages threading together stories of orders that appeared and dissolved like myths retold in real time. The diffusion felt less like marketing and more like ritual. Mechanisms of uptake were simple yet relentless. One influential account on X shared the image with a single line about backpropagated freedom. Replies arrived in clusters, each adding context from earlier alpha builds or linking the icon to older legends of swift messengers. Algorithms on both platforms rewarded the visual clarity. The winged trader traveled farther than any changelog ever had. Within 2 days, the motif appeared in profile pictures, custom emojis, and even the occasional conference slide. AI researchers on Reddit compiled timelines of its spread, noting how the image crossed from trading forums into model training communities without losing its original charge. Each new post layered another interpretation, yet the core remained unchanged, speed rendered visible. The markets themselves registered nothing new, but the cultural layer thickened around them. Developers who had never touched the codebase began to reference the icon when discussing latency or edge execution. The story of Hermes had found its modern vectors, carried not by sandals but by the same gradient signals that powered the agents.